Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Russia has blamed the US and vowed consequences for a Ukrainian missile strike on Sevastopol in occupied Crimea, which officials say killed 4 people, including 2 children. Around 150 more were injured in the attack as missile debris fell on a nearby beach. Russia's defense ministry said the missiles used by Ukraine were US-supplied ATACMS missiles and claimed they were programmed by US specialists. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov called the strike barbaric and accused the US of killing Russian children. He pointed towards comments by President Vladimir Putin, who recently vowed to target countries supplying weapons to Ukraine. Meanwhile, attacks on police posts, churches and a synagogue in Russia's North Caucasus Republic of Dagestan have left 20 people and 5 gunmen dead. At least 46 people were taken to hospital with injuries. 3 days of mourning have been declared in Dagestan, a predominantly Muslim republic in southern Russia, which neighbors Chechnya. The apparently coordinated attacks targeted the cities of Derbent and Makakala on the Orthodox festival of Pentecost, with an Orthodox priest among those killed. A massive factory fire that began after several lithium batteries exploded has killed at least 22 people in South Korea. The blaze broke out on Monday morning at the Arisel plant in Hwaesong City, about 45 kilometers south of the capital Seoul. Local television footage showed large smoke clouds and small explosions going off as firefighters sought to put out the fire. A part of the roof had collapsed. South Korea is a leading producer of lithium batteries, which are used in many items from electric vehicles to laptops. Officials say 1 person has died and dozens have been injured during a crush at an election rally for Rwanda's President Paul Kagame. Campaigning for July's general election began on Saturday, with Mr. Kagame holding 2 rallies in northern Rwanda over the weekend. A statement from the Ministry of Local Government said the crush happened in Rubavu district, where 37 people were injured, 4 of whom were hospitalized with serious injuries. It apologized to the deceased's family, adding that a medical team on site did everything possible. Protests in New Caledonia have flared up once again after 7 pro-independence activists were detained and taken to France for their alleged role orchestrating riots against a controversial voting reform bill. A town hall, police station and several other buildings were set alight across New Caledonia, France's High Commission to South Pacific Territory said. Among those flown to mainland France was pro-independence leader Christian Tien, who on Saturday was charged in connection with riots, looting and arson, in which 9 people were killed. 1 person has died in South Dakota and hundreds of homes have been destroyed in Iowa during a flooding in the upper U.S. Midwest. Some rivers in the 2 states reached record high levels as up to 18 inches of rain fell in some areas over the weekend. The risk of storms and floods will persist throughout Monday, the National Weather Service says. Elsewhere, tens of millions of Americans are still living under alerts due to a scorching heat wave.
Now, the emergency order that I signed allows us to start doing that paperwork, but we are not going to wait for the federal government to give us an approval or to collect any of that information. We start taking care of things now and making sure that when we get that done, we'll follow through the process in order to get compensated. Unfortunately, we've already had 1 death from the situation in the state that has resulted from the flooding. And because of respect for the family, I'm not going to share any details around that. All I'm going to say is that I want to remind everybody to remember the power of water.
And Buckingham Palace has said the Princess Royal has been admitted to hospital after she suffered a minor head injury and concussion on her estate in Gloucestershire. Princess Anne is expected to make a full and swift recovery after the incident at her Gatcombe Park estate on Sunday, a statement said. Sources suggest her injury is consistent with an impact from a horse's head or legs, but the cause of her head injury is unconfirmed. A Buckingham Palace statement said she is expected to stay in hospital until later this week as a precautionary measure for observation. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.